Okay, so now that I have my three primary colors painted, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to demonstrate how to begin mixing your secondary and tertiary colors. And I probably approach this a little bit different than some people, but in the interest of saving paint and not wasting a lot of it, I am going to be starting with my lightest color as always. And I'm just going to add a little bit of this kind of in here. Take a little bit of this out. And we don't need tons. We need enough to fill your paintings. So I'm going to go ahead and get, some of this in. I have a rather tiny brush because I'm painting tiny areas. Yours will be a little bit bigger than mine. I'm making a miniature version. I'm going to get off most of this paint and clean off my brush because I don't want to accidentally get this color into my red, which is what I'm going to start with. And I'm just going to take this red and I'm going to put some of this off in a different area here. I'm not mixing it directly into my yellow, and I won't need anywhere near as much red as I will the yellow. And I'm actually going to make all three of my colors between the two first. So I'm going to get as much of the red off as I can from my paintbrush. And then whatever's left on my paintbrush, I'm going to just mix that into my yellow here. And that's going to make my first tertiary color, my yellow-orange. So I just took a little bit, I added some in there, and then I'm going to go ahead and paint my yellow-orange. And again, if you get outside of your lines a little bit, not a big deal, because you are going to be cutting these out. Do the best you can, but paint quickly. Coincidentally, when you're considering what you want to make for your movement stencil or template, think about the fact that if you're going to have to cut out lots of little tiny parts or pieces, like if I had a bunch of those eyes, that would be very tiny and difficult to cut. Obviously, I might choose to do something a little bit different. Okay, so get this paint spread around. So there's my yellow-orange. And now I'm going to mix a little bit more red into it. And that will make my orange. And I do want to see kind of the halfway point between the red and the orange, or the red and the yellow, to create my secondary color orange. So I definitely want to see a distinct change or different from the yellow-orange. And I do. So I'm going to get that painted. I think I probably see a little bit more of a difference than you do, just because of the lighting. Let me see what happens if you can see the difference a little bit better, but the lighting still just is not good. So again, I'm getting this orange painted. I always try to outline first and then fill things in. I think it's easier to put this all together if you do that. Spread this orange out a little bit. And if you run out of paint, it's best not to mix more up. Try and kind of pull it around if you can. If it's just a tiny little bit, you could always get your brush, not the paint, but the brush wet a little bit. That would help. The other thing is come up and ask me for some extender, and I can always add a little bit of that to your paint, which will help it last a little bit longer. And then for our red-orange, we're going to mix some more of the red in. And this is going to be back to another tertiary color. Again, this one is the one that's closest to the red. Yeah, I think I can do a little more red in there. I like to try it sometimes. And again, I want it to be about halfway between the orange and the red. And when I see that my paint has accomplished that, that's good. Then I'm going to paint the red-orange. And then once I'm done with the red-orange, I'm going to clean out my tray, and I'm going to put some yellow and some blue on my tray. And I'm going to go through the yellow greens, because you always start at the lightest end and go towards the darkest. So down when I do my blue greens and yellow greens, I'm going to start on this end closest to the yellow and slowly add the blue in to make my yellow green, and then my green and my blue green. And then I will repeat and cleaning out my tray for my last set of colors, where I'm going to put some red and some blue in my tray. And I'm going to do my violets, my blue. I probably start on the red end and do the red violet, and then the violet, and then the blue violet, always kind of starting with that lightest of the two colors first, and that would be red over blue. Okay, so get this finished. So I've got my first set of my colors. So I have my red, red, orange, orange, yellow, orange, yellow. So next I'll do my greens and then my violets. When I'm done with that and they're dry, I'm going to cut all 12 of these out, and then I'll show you the next step in the next video.